What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass channel with me, Suri, and this is Sham. Today we're going to be talking about the Champions League final last night against PSG versus Bayern, and also we'll be going through the player reviews of United this season for the 1920 season, Premier League, Europa League, FA Cup, and League Cup, and all sorts of stuff. So, and probably touch on a little bit of transfers as well. Anyway, what's going on, Sham?
Yeah, all good, all good. It was a really good game of football. I felt at times watching it that it was almost as if the game was on double speed. Like the ball was just moving around that quickly. But
I thought the first 25 minutes were fast. Yeah,
like the players had such good technical control. It was, it's supposed to be the showpiece of football, the Champions League final, and it genuinely was.
yeah.
Neuer was massive in every sense of the word. Made three big one-on-one saves with his, the periphery of his body, using all of his 6'4", 6'5" frame.
Yeah.
We said a couple of times if PSG got through the defence and were one-on-one, how'd they go? Well, Neuer, I think, as well as the team played, I think he was the difference between the two teams.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So like they had a few early opportunities, PSG, and I had read a few people like kind of, tweets and that saying Lyon had those, but they had inferior strikers and like Neymar and Mbappe and Di Maria would finish it, but they didn't. And instead of the defense being massive, instead of strikers being average, Neuer was massive, man. I didn't realize how, like, I've been watching Neuer since his Schalke days. I remember United beat them 5-0 in Schalke in 2011, I think. And I didn't realize how big he was. He's
a
a
big
fucking
man.
unit,
And
man.
he's like a massive chest, and he's like,
yeah, he's like a big boy.
He's all arms, and he looks like a muppet sometimes with the way he waves his arms around. But
like he's he's a wet dream of a certain someone from World War II, But but yeah, anyway, so he was massive. Couple of stand-up players. I thought Kimmich did well, and I'm a wet dream for Goretzka, but I think Leon Goretzka was amazing as well. But Owen said it. I think Michael Owen tweeted before the game, and I think we've said it before. Great teams beat great players, and PSG is a good team, but they're not a great team, and it was always going to be Bayern at the end of the day.
Be interesting next season to see if they're really hungry enough for it as well.
Yeah,
because they've gotten to the big dance and they've lost, and sometimes you need to lose that type of game to win it. Bayern lost in 1990 United, they won 2 years later. That sometimes you need that experience to just get yourself through.
Lots of teams like kind of come back, to win it. Like a couple, like Bayern did. Bayern lost to Chelsea, came back. Chelsea lost to United, came back. So it's just kind of it's clear in history that PSG will be thereabouts for the next 2 or 3 seasons in the semifinals and final. Yeah. Look, the goal was a good goal. I thought it was poor defending from Thiago Silva.
Yeah,
it's very unlike him. But people make mistakes, I guess. But very poor to let that go over his head in the last minute of the game. In the last game of the such a high stakes game, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And Neuer, I heard someone make comments about Neuer almost being a bit lucky, but he kept his composure really well. He stayed big as long as he possibly could. And that was kind of the difference, because a lot of the saves it was not like one-on-ones where it hit his body. It was sort of like it hit his foot. Well, outstretched foot, his outstretched hand. Sorry, I'm reaching beyond the screen. But
especially that first chance,
Yeah, he had ice in his veins. He was big. He did everything by the book. And sometimes you rush as a keeper or you rush as a striker, but he kept his nerve. He had ice in his veins, and it was really technically good saves as much as anything else.
Yeah. I guess, and like to kind of cap it off, Hans Flick, man, we were talking about it this morning before the video. He's lost one in, what was it, Sham? 27 games or something? Am I right to say that?
I think it's 27, yeah.
Yeah, let's say 27.
And he's won a treble in his first season. That's unprecedented.
I mean, and it's not like he took over from a Bayern that was first. And they were, I wouldn't say struggling, but they were a bit rudderless.
Yeah, they were seventh
before he took over.
Yeah,
seventh. I thought it was fourth. Okay, but as well, you just felt the team was a bit rudderless. Thomas Muller wasn't performing, and like Thomas Muller's back to his 2014 best, 2010, 2014 best. So if you talk about at the minute, he could go on to become one of the greats as a manager, man. The way he's just everyone just responds to him with the right money, and Bayern always backs their managers, man. I've never seen a manager not backed. Even down to people like Ancelotti, who was fired after 6 months. They're all backed. Yeah. They go to Dortmund and they get their free players. And I think
it's interesting with Bayern, their directorship that make the decisions, they're all ex-players, they're all pros that have gone into the boardroom. and
Yeah.
they spend the money, but they back their players in. They make them better.
Yeah.
They seem to play longer as well. Like Ribery played at 36. I mean, that type of player
Yeah.
shouldn't be playing to that age, that sort of
Yeah.
explosive winger. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think their the cost to their entire team was something like 200 million or something. The one that won last night,
Yeah.
like with Coutinho on loan, Lewandowski for free, Kimmich for free. Kimmich was an academy player and all that kind of stuff. Like when you build it up, it was something like maybe 300 million, and that's incredible. That money still doesn't. Yeah, there's still a place for kind of wholesome football.
Was it you, or it might have been your brother, sorry, sent that one about how much Man City spent on their defense? They had the list of all the countries and how much they spent on defense, and like City had spent
Or
more on their defense than those countries.
on the armed defenses versus
Yeah, the armed
cities,
defenses versus City's defense. Yeah, I think it was 400 million he'd spent on defenders or something like that.
and they still let the French invade. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I guess moving on. So today, the real purpose of the video today is to kind of go through each player for the United team this in the 1920 season, and just kind of give a rating and maybe I guess a little tag to what's in store for them in the next season and their future. So I guess I'll start if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So we had three keepers who played this year: De Gea, Romero, and Lee Grant. So I got a lot of stats up here. So just looking at 1 second. So yeah, De Gea played 43 games. Sergio Romero 17, and Lee Grant played the one game against Astana. But just to give a rating, I think De Gea had a very average season, and we've talked about it so many times. He didn't get the rest. He hasn't gotten rest that he's needed to, and overall, he's had some. He's had his De Gea moments. He's had some calamitous moments. Overall, I'd give him a 6.5 out of 10 for me. He's still important to the team, but with a good amount of rest, he can go back to his best. I have no doubt about it. I don't actually have the amount of clean sheets, but I know he had 13 clean sheets in the Premier League. It's okay. Need to be getting probably about 5 more as a keeper of his kind of quality, maybe 10 more if he. Yeah. Anyway, Sergio
Maybe
Romero.
25 more. Yeah.
Yeah, Sergio Romero for me. There's a split ranking for me here. We talked about it again. We were kind of starting to standardize our grades. As a keeper for United, I wouldn't give him more than a 6, and I think we agree on that. But as a keeper, when it comes to Europa, you can't look past the fact that he's a quality backup keeper. Nearly any team in the league would have him as a first choice keeper. But I think the fact that he's been here for 6 years, he's probably not going to leave in the summer. Even if Dean Henderson comes in, speaks a bit of ambition. So I think as a keeper, a 6 would be fair. As a Europa League keeper, I'll give him an 8, man, because he's been outstanding. So, but overall, I stick with that 6, like we said before. And Lee Grant, yeah, look, he's there obviously to kind of be a mentor to the younger keepers and to be a training partner. And I'm sure as a keeper, training partners are invaluable. So again, probably another 5. He'll probably move on in the summer with Dean Henderson coming back. Sergio Romero, as we said, if he moves on, I wouldn't be surprised, but if he doesn't, I wouldn't either. So that's our keepers. So coming on to our defenders, we'll just look at the main defenders first. Maguire playing 55 games, Lindelof 47, Wan-Bissaka 46. These are big numbers, man. Williams 36 games.
Just as a point of reference, they played 61 games, wasn't it, this season?
63, 62.
62, yeah.
62. Yeah, it's either 61 or 63. Actually, you're right. I can't remember the exact number. Well, if you add up the keepers' numbers, so that's 61. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll just say again: Maguire 55, Lindelof 47, Wan-Bissaka 46, Luke Shaw 33, Williams 46, Ashley Young 18. I'm glad Inter Milan didn't win. Eric Bailly 11, Rojo 9, Swansea 10 games, not bad. Diego Dolo 11, Phil Jones 8, Fosu Mensah 6, and then you have a few academy graduates I'll get to later. So overall, as a defense, I think we did quite well this season, given the newness of the defense, the rawness of the defense. I think Luke Shaw and Brandon Williams have stepped up. So just going through them individually, for me, Maguire, I'd give Maguire a 7.5, just based on the fact that he played every single game, literally every single game in the Premier League. and he played through every single game that he did play in Europe and in the cups, and he played with a hip injury for about 3 or 4 months. So for me, 7.5 for Maguire. Lindelof, up and down season, probably a 7. Wan-Bissaka, for me, our best defender. I think you'd agree as well. Best defender of the season by far. Huge season, just strength to strength from his last season in Palace. I give him an 8. I think he was outstanding this season. If he could improve on something, I think he is getting better with his final ball, but he could become a Trent type of player. He has the athleticism. He's classy and athletic. So that's that. Luke Shaw, I think Luke Shaw and Williams were quite similar in rankings. I give him also about a 7.5. I give a bit more to Williams, I guess, just because the pressure he's had coming on as an 18-year-old. He's done very well. Maybe he hasn't played as well as Shaw, but it kind of makes up for the fact that he stepped into that role and done tremendously. I'm going to gloss over Ashley Young. He's obviously left and lost the final, but fair play to him. He's done well at Inter. Eric Bailly, I mean, the guy, if he gets a string of games, could be one of the best defenders in the league, but he's just so injured. I'll give him a 4. Marcus Rojo, another 4. Tuanzebe, I hesitate to give him a 4. He's also had injuries and he's young. I look forward to seeing him next season. Diego Dolo, another 4. He should be leaving in the summer. I think Mourinho wants him at Spurs. So yeah, that should be that.
Barca might want to get him as well.
Well, I won't be surprised, man. Like these guys, they go to Spain.
They need a proper right back. They haven't got a proper right back, Barcelona. I think they play Sergio Roberto. They
play Semedo as well. Semedo's another player, but these guys go over to Spain and like they just do better. The language is easier for them, all that kind of stuff. So Phil Jones, I'm giving him a 2, man. He's been at United nearly 10 years now, and he's just dead weight at this stage. He's just dead weight. Forza Mensa, I like what Forza Mensa did towards the end of the season. I'll give him a 7 just because I think he showed a bit of fortitude coming back. And I like that. I like someone who just kind of puts that behind him, and he's done well. And I think he's got a bright future, man. Although he's 24, he's not that young anymore. Sorry, excuse me. He's 21. It's not 24. He's a huge future. And then we have the academy players, Mengi and Ethan Laird, Deshaun Bernard as well. All did well. I wouldn't really give them ratings. I think it'd be a bit unfair, but I think they did well when they came on.
Of those guys, who do you think is closer to getting more game time?
I'd say Mengi, just because of that leadership aspect as well. But he's only 17. Ethan Laird's only 18. They have at least 4 more years before they even think of starting and getting a string of games at United. They probably both go on loan, just like Chong's gone on loan as well. I guess you can get to that in a second. But of the defenders, of like the main bunch of first team defenders, I hope Phil Jones leaves. I hope Diego Dolo leaves. These are big wages as well. Eric Bailly could leave. Although it's unlikely, he's a very Patrice Evra kind of guy where he loves being at United. So yeah, he may not leave. Other than that, I hope everyone else stays. And again, I hope we get another centre back. Koulibaly seems out of the option because City seem to have got him. So yeah, look, the defense has work to do, but I think with what we had, overall, did very well this season.
I think it's interesting with the defense. I agree with most of the scores. It's interesting because a lot of those, like Shaw's been out for a while, he came back. Bissaka and Maguire's their first season. Lindelof's not really played a lot of first team football. So the way that they've come together, I think they were 7th or 9th in the league. I think even 11th, in terms of goals conceded last year. Like it was quite a bad number, and they've gone from that to 3rd. So that in itself is really good and indicates things are working. And Ollie's also helped, I think, tighten that up a bit. I just think that my worry with them is, as much as they could become better as a unit, and I spoke about that in the Seville video, I'm not sure if this is sort of the peak of what they can do. I don't think that this is a defense that could win you a title. They're all good players, and like if you look at Shaw, Williams, Maguire, Lindelof, Bissaka, they all had good seasons. Can they have better seasons is kind of the question mark for me. And maybe that's cohesiveness because a lot of them haven't really played with each other. A bit of leadership, I think, is needed there as well. There was a couple of those goals against Seville could have been stopped with better organisation, better tactical know-how. And they played enough games together to start having a bit more of a cohesive understanding. So it's
Mhm.
interesting, but I think individually, particularly the first team players did pretty well.
I think there's a lot more to be seen. I think Harry Maguire is in many ways the finished product. He's not going to get much better technically, but I think influentially he's going to become bigger and bigger. However, look, I don't want to. I know that I didn't want to talk about it, but I guess he's he had the arrest in Mykonos during midweek. I wonder how that's gonna. It does affect people, these kind of things. And
It could be the making of him, but it could be
look,
the
I don't want to
breaking
say
of him.
much. I don't want to
I
say
don't know
much.
what's happened. Yeah, but
There's
it
two
could.
sides to every story,
Yeah,
and I don't want to say
it
much
could
about
make
it.
him
But
better, but it could make him fall off a cliff. So it
yeah,
could be the
so
exact same. Yeah.
yeah, but I think there's a lot to be still uncovered from Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. Without a doubt, Wan-Bissaka, he's 21. You're going to see him do crazy things in 3 or 4 years time. So I agree and disagree with you, I guess. Lindelof needs to be replaced. I think that was evident at Sevilla. He's done that too many times now. He's a good player. He probably deserves to be at United, but I think he'll eventually move on because I think they'll bring in someone better, and eventually he'll decide that he needs to play in the Euros and the World Cup. So
He's a good third choice centre back. I don't think he's the second centre back, which is what he is now. It's just a matter of getting that better play there. And it's interesting. Jones, I think, 9 seasons at United. I think it's time for him to go if he's not getting game time. Smalling's still technically at the club. Bailly is, I think he needed 4 league games or something like that the whole season. Yeah. So there's need to have a look at that centre back positions. I think the full back positions are a little better. There's a need to sort out that sort of what's going on at centre back with the club, and I think one new acquisition would make a big difference.